Chapter 4. We must now explain how one should contemplate hitbonenut, whether it should specifically be done in a general way or in a way of particulars. For example, this may be understood in regard to the godly comprehension into the aspect of how Hashem permeates all worlds, Memale Kol Almin. In the general comprehension of how Hashem permeates the three created worlds of Bria, Yitzira, and Asiyah, creation, formation, and action, all the allegories of the ray emanating from the luminary, or of the spreading forth of divine influence, or of the letters of speech, etc., are all rooted in one general matter, that of the revelation of that which is hidden. Likewise, in the general comprehension of the great difference between a created limited being relative to Hashem, the unlimited being, although there are many particular ways to understand this, and although there are many details, as will be explained, nonetheless it is all understood in a general manner. Or, on the other hand, should one contemplate in a manner of specifics, analyzing each word, each creature, and each of the various particular levels in the entire chaining down of the worlds, from cause to cause, analyzing each one specifically in and of itself? This likewise is the question in regard to the contemplation of the upper unity of the lights and vessels of the world of Atzilut, including all the details of the 10 Sefirot until the essence of the infinite light, Atzmut or Ein Sof. Should one contemplate this in a general manner, that is, the matter of the light of Atzilut, how it comes about from the essential self of Hashem through Tzimtzum, restraint, and how it is incomparable to the essential self of the emanator. Likewise, in regard to the general contemplation of how he and his life force are one, although there are many particulars in this, as will be explained, nonetheless, it still is a general contemplation. He can understand this matter generally through various analogies, such as the analogy mentioned in Sefer Yetzirah of a flame which is bound to the coal, or such as a general understanding of the revelation of the faculties of the soul from their concealment in the essence of the soul. Through this analysis, he will come to comprehend the depth of the concept of how Hashem permeates all worlds, which is called the lower unity as known. Now in truth, these two matters are dissimilar from each other. On the one hand, there is an advantage to general contemplation, that through it one will be able to come to the general depth of the matter, which is the general aspect of the essence of the godly light. However, he will reach this only in a general way, whether in regard to the comprehension of the upper unity or the lower unity. This revelation of godliness in his soul is the ultimate purpose of contemplation. On the other hand, there is also an advantage to contemplating in a way of particulars specifically, since through it the revelation of the godly light in his soul will be incredibly closer to him. For, through contemplation in a general way, it is possible for one to delude oneself, so that it appears to him that this matter is very close to him. In truth, though, when he only contemplates in a general manner, Hashem appears to him from afar. This is not the case when one contemplates in a manner of specifics to comprehend all the details of each particular. When he does this, it becomes embedded in his soul in a very close way. From this, he will come to comprehend a higher particular on a higher level until he comes to the general comprehension of the general matter. In this way, the comprehension is truer without deluding himself at all. For example, when he starts contemplating the matter of how Hashem permeates all worlds in a manner of particulars, he begins by contemplating how the root of the spiritual influence of the orbits and constellations come into actuality out of nothing from the waste matter of the Ophanim angels. Afterwards he contemplates the Ophanim angels and Chayot angels in a manner of particulars, etc. This contemplation continues until he reaches the aspect of Malchut of the world of Asiyah, which is the general godly light that brings the world of Asiyah into being. He continues in this way, contemplating the details of the 10 Sefirot of the world of Asiyah, until he reaches the aspect of Malchut of Yetzirah, which becomes the Keter for the world of Asiyah. In this manner, he contemplates the particulars of the world of Yetzirah, and then the particulars of the world of Bria. He continues in this way until he reaches the aspect of Malchut of Atzilut, which is the totality of everything, and is generally called by the name Elokim as known. In this way, after thorough analysis, he realizes the truth of the matter in a way of great closeness. For although, in and of itself, each particular of his contemplation is generally not a matter of godliness, and is only a particular which is of secondary importance, nonetheless, when his whole analysis of all the particulars comes together and becomes bound to the general principle, then the general principle will become embedded in his soul to a greater degree, This has been tried and tested by all those who have toiled deeply in hitbonenut, contemplation. Likewise, the contemplation of the upper unity should be in a manner of particulars as well. To understand each particular detail of the 10 sfirot of the statures of Zer Anpin and Nukva, Abba and Ima, Arich Anpin and Atik Yomin, all the way to the beginning of the Kav in Adam Kadmon, etc. It is specifically the contemplation of all this in a manner of particulars which will cause the general light of the essence of the emanator, which includes and unifies everything, to be implanted in his soul. However, such is not the case if one only contemplates in a general manner so that Hashem appears to him from afar, as mentioned previously. For through this it is possible for him to fall into false delusions, as do fools and those who lack da'at. This comes about because they focus their entire mind solely on a general matter. However, the focusing and delving of one's concentration into each detail is the opposite of error and distance from Hashem. On the contrary, through this the matter becomes closer to his mind, since he goes from one particular to a higher particular until he unifies them all in a general unification rather than a particular unification. This may be understood from the unification, Yichud, of yours Hashem is the greatness. The general matter of godly unification is the aspect of the depth of comprehending the sublimation of the something to the nothing, both in the comprehension of the upper unity and the lower unity. Now there is a particular unification for each particular thing. For example, in yours Hashem is the greatness, this is the aspect of Chesed of Malchut, of the world of Atzilut, as it is invested in the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah and Asiyah, in a particular way for each world. That is, even the general matter here is only a single particular attribute of a particular attribute of Malchut. Likewise, when one contemplates yours Hashem is the might, both in general and in its particulars in each world, it is nonetheless considered to be a particular unification. The same principle applies to the unifications of all the particulars of the 10 Sfirot, of each of the worlds of Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiyah as known. In contrast, a general unification is like the understanding of, behold, the place is with me, or the exalted king, who is aloof from the days of the world. In other words, he is aloof from the days of the world, which refers to the 6 directions, the emotional Sfirot, and the intellect of Chokhmah and Binah of the worlds. However, in comparison to the essence of Malchut of Atzilut, which is Keter Malchut, even this is likewise only considered to be a particular. In a similar manner, there is a contemplation of all the other Sfirot of the world of Atzilut, until the essence of the aspect of Malchut of Ein Sof, the infinite, at the beginning of the Kav. There are many unifications of the many particulars in each Sfirah and Partzuf, stature. The general unification, however, is the general sublimation of the entire chaining down of the Kav relative to the essential self of the infinite light, Atzmut or Ein Sof, as known. However, this is not the case with one who has not delved his concentration into particular unifications, but rather begins with the general aspect. Even though he toils greatly in comprehending the many general concepts of how everything is generally sublimated to Hashem, such as the aforementioned allegory of the flame and other such concepts, nonetheless, the truth of the matter will not become as embedded in his soul as much as it would have been had he gone through a thorough analysis into the particular details which would bring him to truly understand the general concept. This then is the meaning of the particular requires the general, and the general requires the particular, for no general concept can exist without its particulars. This matter has already been debated by many of the foremost Rishonim, such as the Rambam and the Torah. That is, whether during prayer one's intention should be focused on the particular meanings of the words, such as contemplating the greatness of Hashem in a way of particulars, or should one's intent rather be to realize in a general way before whom he is standing and praying. This matter is discussed in Chassidic manuscripts. Now, although as a rule a general thought and a particular thought cannot coexist, nonetheless, he who delves with all his heart and with all his desire specifically to contemplate the essence of godliness, even though his analysis is into the particulars, he will specifically direct everything to the general thought of Hashem's essential self. He will not fall from the general intention at all as a result of focusing on the particulars. This is because all the particulars are drawn to and follow the general principle as is known to all those who travel upon the path of truth, who direct themselves specifically only to Hashem. Likewise, this is, as stated by the sages, pray to Him rather than to His attributes. This is to say that the main intent of the matter of contemplating the particulars is solely for the specific purpose of coming to the essential self and being of Hashem Himself. In other words, one should never consider the particulars to be the main thing, such as studying a subject in and of itself, rather than to know Hashem. Likewise, one's analysis of the Zohar and the writings of the Arizal must specifically be in this manner. This will suffice those of understanding. My father, our master, mentor and teacher, the Alter Rebbe of blessed memory, whose soul resides in Eden, received this teaching from the mouth of the Rav, the Maggid of Mezrich of blessed memory, with a full explanation, and this is how I heard it from his mouth. Through all of the above, we have answered the question of those who inquire regarding the specific Kabbalistic meanings of the words of the prayers. How is it that those who know them do not become confused and distracted from the general intent? Rather, on the contrary, the intent of the meaning of the words of prayer, as explained by Kabbalah, serves to strengthen the depth of one's general grasp of the essence of godliness, as known to those who have tasted the contemplation of the words of the prayers in a manner of particulars. However, for those who are novices, it is best that at first they should delve in a general way until they become accustomed little by little to the contemplation of the particulars during prayer specifically. This will suffice those of understanding.